Welcome to the mobile version of the live this week. This is part 3 of a series on social media, screens, digital distraction, external noise, reclaiming our focus, and directing it towards what matters most. I'm going to give everybody a chance to come on. I got a bunch of questions that have been submitted today. That's going to be our focus. And I'm also going to be sharing a little bit more about my program Revival, which starts tomorrow. Technically, our 21-day journey starts on Monday, right? That's going to be the main focus of the program. But tomorrow, Wednesday, August 27th, we have our prep call. So that's going to be a chance for everybody who's going on the journey. It's kind of like that when you have a meeting before you go on a pilgrimage or you go on a trip with people and you kind of get that orientation. That's what tomorrow is going to be. You'll have a chance to ask me questions, and it'll be an opportunity to get oriented and get prepared for the journey ahead, which officially starts on Monday. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about that, and I have some questions both about Revival and also about this question of digital distractions, screens, social media, and all of that. So welcome. If you're live, you're also welcome to put questions in the comments. Okay, so which question do I want to start with first? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about Revival first. So Revival is a 21-day experience. Each day for 21 days, you receive a message from me. It's a short video or audio where it's a lesson on distraction, reclaiming your focus, developing the capacity to direct your creative energy in new ways. It's like a bite-sized lesson, and then you have a daily practice. So it takes about 30 minutes every day. I've designed it in a way that's really bite-sized and that anyone can do with a busy schedule, with a lot of other things going on. And by the end of the 3 weeks, you're going to have this experience of whatever it is. If you're tuning into this conversation and you're resonating and you're leaning in, there's something that you're wanting to renegotiate your relationship with. Maybe that's Netflix at night. Maybe that's scrolling on social media. Maybe that's always having a podcast in or watching YouTube rather than actually moving forward on your own creative projects. Actually, I'm getting a little download to write down here. You'll know whatever that thing is for you, and Revival is what I've created to help you get right relationship with that thing, to assess why it is that you are turning towards something that is actually not nourishing you. It's not life-giving. It is life-draining. And to pull out those energetic hooks at the root, not just through, digital detox, turn off your phone for a little bit. That doesn't work. It might give you a little bit of temporary relief, but we got to go deeper, right? We got to go deeper into the energetics of it. And if you're resonating with this conversation, you also probably have some sense or very clear understanding of the energetics of your device, right? The electromagnetics, as well as the more subtle energetics of how we end up with hooks and ties and essentially kind of a non-sovereign bond with our device, which is part of why we feel drawn to it, right? There's other reasons, but one big aspect of it is that there is more than meets the eye about what happens when we turn continuously towards some form of external input, screen, podcast, TV, you name it, texting your friends instead of doing what you need to be doing. We build these almost unconscious relationships. We're getting something from it. And so what Revival does is we get in there and we say, what contracts have I unknowingly made with this technology, and would I like to renegotiate those so that I can have my precious life force not going down whatever drain it might be and actually have it for creation. And the little note that I was writing down is someone submitted a question today about is this just for entrepreneurs? Is it just, do you have to have a business? Do you have to identify as being a creative? And the answer is no. That's definitely a big part of my community and the people that I work with, is people who have that sense of projects that they're here to bring to life. That sense of, I came here at this time of great change, to contribute something. And people who have businesses, who are artists, who have that soul song to sing and are really earnestly engaged with how to do that in the most aligned way possible. That is a huge part of where my heart is in my work. It's essentially supporting other versions of me who have that really sincere desire to be of service, and who are up against all kinds of inner and outer distraction programming, and just the need to build capacity, right? The need to grow stronger in our work and our gifts, our capacity to bring it forward. That is a huge part of, what lights my heart up about my work, is supporting folks like that. And there's also a percentage of people who resonate with my work who are really living embodiments of the teaching that I always share, which is that your ultimate mission is to be yourself. Your ultimate mission is to live a life that feels beautiful to you, to live a life on your own terms, on God's terms, the Creator's terms, a life that embodies your values, a life of love, a life of presence. Fill in whatever other words resonate for you. That's the ultimate mission, right? And so there are folks who resonate with my work who are parents who don't necessarily have a creative outlet, but actually, like, if you were to look at their lives, you would see actually how creative they are, because the way that they cook for their family, or the way that they design their home, or the way that they attend to whatever their spiritual practice is, that is also a creative act, which we'll explore a bit more within Revival. But there are people who resonate with this work who aren't public figures, leaders in a traditional sense, but are well and truly energetic leaders of the new paradigm, right? Of this dawning of a new era on earth, one where we are integrated once again with our soul, our direct connection with God, where we're seeing beyond the fear, we're breaking those generational chains. That is a huge part of the mission. I just pause because I felt how important it is for people who think that they don't have a mission, who think that they're not really on purpose, or there isn't a place for them in this conversation because they're not running a business or running a nonprofit, or known for putting work out there. Meanwhile, they're completely devoted to their healing process. Meanwhile, they are designing a life that is a complete reset of the patterns that they lived as a child. They are rewiring their ancestry. They are devotedly listening to their soul's call. They're increasingly present, increasingly loving. That is massively of service. That's a huge contribution. And I wasn't planning on saying that, so I always know that's the real, that's the real God drop, mic drop of the live, because I wasn't intending to say that, but it really wanted to come through. So if that resonates with you, put a comment either on the live or in the replay. I'd love to hear from you, because it's near and dear to my heart to support both the people who are actively building things for the collective in this new era, and the people who are living beautiful lives that are an embodiment of the world that we're all intending to create. So that's that question answered. Is it just for entrepreneurs, business owners? No, it's for anyone who has that feeling of there is distraction occurring in my life that is pulling focus from what matters most to me. The predominant focus that we're going to have is on digital distraction. Your devices, your phone, your content consumption, the pull of the screen. And people also find themselves pulling the plug on other forms of where your attention gets pulled. And that's what I think makes Revival really unique as compared to any other digital detox program, is that you're going to have a chance to really sit with yourself and really sit with, like, what is it? There's this Thomas Merton quote that the quote lives on my phone. I don't have it written down on my paper, so we'll see if I can get it right. But basically he says something like, what is keeping you from living for the thing that you say that you want to live for? That is the question that Revival is answering. We figure out what is in the way of you living for what you want to live for, and how do we reorganize your life so that you can live for that thing. So it's for anyone who has that sense of, I want more spaciousness, I want to see what would happen, even if I took back a small percentage of my time from unintentional places where it's being leaked, a small percentage of my energy. And people come in to Revival with, I like to say they come in either with a no or a yes, and sometimes both. The no people are like, sign me up. If I could turn over my phone to you and just pull the plug on the scrolling, the content consumption, like, this is for me, because I am a no to the very obvious drain that is happening through digital distraction in my life. For other people, they're coming in with a yes. It's this feeling of, I do have a project, I do have a creation, or the project creation is time with my loved ones, is when was the last time I did all the things that I say that I love, such as go swimming, lie on a rock and watch the clouds flow by, whatever it might be. There's a yes to what life is calling you to that you feel that you are not fully answering. And if you have a lucid moment, you can see, okay, well, why don't I have time and energy for this? Why is this thing I say is most important to me, why does it keep going to the back burner? People are coming in with that yes, and then Revival helps them reclaim the energy to actually put it towards the thing that they say that they want to live for. And for some folks, there are folks who are clients of mine and students of mine who are going to be part of Revival, who they know. So we're building, Revival's happening in September 1st to 21st. And then it's God is My Boss season, which is my program on spiritual business, my program on essentially creating a thriving business based on your gifts, right? How do you be you and also get paid for that in a way that feels aligned for you? That's what God is My Boss is about. And there are folks who are doing Revival because they know that they're building towards more expression, towards more creation, towards putting a next level of their life's work out there. And they know that taking 30 minutes a day for 21 days, plus the support calls to check in with me, they have a sense of, this is really going to set me up for success for what's coming. And if you hear yourself in any one of those descriptions, then Revival might be for you. And if you're live and you have questions, put them in the chat. And if you're watching the replay and you have questions about whether this is right for you, you can put them in the comments, or you can always email support@aaronxrose.com, and that's the direct line to my team. Okay, that's question one. Let's take a hydration moment, and then we'll go into the next questions. I'm just in gratitude about the fact that I get to have such a niche conversation with people who care about this stuff. And if you're curious about the why behind Revival, you can listen to my previous lives. This is something that I created because, I created it from a no and a yes. The no was me really seeing the acceleration of tech addiction in the world, me seeing the ill intent behind the creation of these devices, which of course we can use for beautiful things, and also there are other energies present. And I was an increasingly loud heck no to that. and, really fought to create and worked hard to create right relationship for myself of how do I show up online, how do I share, and how do I do that in a way that is healthy for all involved. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in some of my questions that I have here. And it was also a yes. It was a yes to, I have higher levels of legacy level work that are beyond, however brilliant my little quippy 2-3 liners are that I put up on Instagram. There's more, right? There's more that I had to give, that I do have to give in the future. And so Revival was also created for myself and for other people who are having that same feeling of, how do I still interact in the digital realm in a way that's aligned for me, and also in a way that doesn't make me choose between having my work reach people and having my work actually mean something to me, having my work actually be substantial enough to have that soul satisfaction feeling of, this is what I came here to do, right? Some of y'all came here to tweet and write your little ditties, your short little messages, whatever they call, post on X these days. But a lot of y'all came to create things that can only be created in silence and in direct connection with God. And frankly, at this point, I'm obsessed with the feeling of deep work. I'm obsessed with how it feels when my channel is clear, as it is in this moment. When my channel is clear and it's just me and the creator creating. And I want that feeling for other people. And so much of the work that I do it's just about taking the lessons that I've learned and then putting them in a way that they can help other people. So, if you were to look at anything that I'm putting out, there's some version of that story, and that's the story for Revival. Okay, a few more questions here. I'm going to hop to this question that someone asked about essentially short form versus long form work, which really brings up the question of what is the role of social media in our lives and in our work. So she asked, basically, she's writing a book and she doesn't really have a big social media platform or online audience or people who know about her. And she is feeling the push-pull between, I need a lot of unplugged, focused time to be doing my book, to be writing my book. But then I also, especially if I'm going to self-publish, really any type of publishing at this point, that's a whole other conversation. We'll get there. Side note, if you're wanting to write a book, stay tuned because there's a resource coming for you. But she knows that she needs that uninterrupted deep work time. And she also knows that she needs to connect with the people who want to read her book, right? It's not 2003 anymore. You can't just go on Oprah and have everybody in Barnes & Noble know about your book, right? It's a different world. And she basically said, help, I feel this push-pull. So this is such a good question, and there's a couple things I want to share on it. So the first thing that I would share, and this is for you whether you're writing a book or whatever that long form thing is, whatever that thing that you can't just do in little 5-minute increments, you need deeper time to sink into it. Maybe that's creating an online course. Maybe that's writing music. Maybe that's dance. Maybe that's, there's a million things. So whatever that long form thing is for you, but you do feel a call to put it out there. The first thing I would say is that you need to every single day put your long form creation first. Don't go on social media. Don't check your phone. Don't think, what am I going to post today? Create a rhythm in your life. And side note, how to create this rhythm is what we teach in Revival. Create a rhythm in your life where you are putting your long form creation first. So I would say for you, minimum 1 hour of deep work first thing in the morning. Deep work is completely uninterrupted, fully focused. Nothing will pull your focus. It's like meditation. Are you meditating or not? If you're meditating and you get a little thought, then you have a little impulse to go somewhere else. You don't go. You notice the thought and you come back. That's what deep work work is. You're like, oh, I want to go to the bathroom. I want to get a snack. What if I were to change to this? No. Come back, focus all the way for 1 hour. How to do deep work is something we also teach in Revival. You can also just Google it. It's a Cal Newport concept. There's a lot of resources out there. I'm certainly talking about deep work at this point is like talking about meditation. It's something that many people are teaching in their own way. So put your long form creation first. And this is also, we want to look at, where do you think that you need your 7-step morning routine and all the things to get ready? What if you just rolled out of bed and you started writing? First thing, maximum willpower, give it your all. And set an amount of time that you know that you could do every day. Put it first. Because it needs your deepest focus. And it's when you are deeply focused, you're also being yourself. And so any smaller expression that's going to come from that place, such as what you share on social media, it's going to be a lot more aligned. It's like the correct order of operations. The next thing I would recommend is to find a content style that you can easily do after your deep work. There's a lot of options for this. Find a content style that you can easily do that is essentially as low friction as possible and feels authentic to you. I'm going to share a couple of examples. One example, and you really want to look at the limitations of your life and work with them. So rather than, oh, I need a video editor, or I need a better microphone, or blah, 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 whatever it is, I can only be in my car. Great. Your content style is I'm in my car, right? You want to work with the constraints of your life and make them work for you. So one example would be someone's coming out of their deep work writing session, and their first impulse is that they go for a walk. They're like, I need to clear my head, get fresh air. Maybe they go for a walk, they talk to God out loud for 5 minutes about what they were working on, and then they turn on the camera and they record a little message. Maybe the message is, it's day 37 of me bringing my life's work to life, and here's what I learned today. Right? You can bring people along for the process, but you want to do it in a way that's bite-sized. You don't want to be spending 3 hours, what am I posting on Instagram today? You want it to be in flow with your life. And by the way, that's going to make you more magnetic, right? Because you're actually being yourself. So even if it doesn't look as perfect, it's going to be you. And so then people are going to enjoy interacting with you, and those are the people that are actually going to want to read your book because they're resonant with your authentic energy. This is something where if you were my personal client, or even on coaching calls in Revival, we would look at your design, especially human design. We would look at, are you in your environment, are you active or passive, which speaks to, is your content more likely to be a kind of snapshot of you? Like, are you the main character of the story? Like, that's where you're kind of selfie walk and talk after your writing session. Or are you passive in your environment, which means that you are you're really kind of letting people into your lens, your understanding of the world, right? So this would be something that's more like, that's what I have. So you do see my face on here, but you also see more of my perspective. So if I were doing this could look like, every day I'm posting something in my stories that's, a key insight from the writing session, or, a quote that I wrote that day, or, something that I wish people knew about the subject that I was writing about. Giving people kind of that look through your lens. It could also be that you're walking and talking, or you're kind of filming something that you're seeing, right? You'll notice I put up a lot of photos and videos of nature. Like, you're seeing what I'm seeing, not necessarily like, hey guys, it's Aaron at the beach. It's like you're sitting as me looking at the ocean, right? So you could be doing that and then putting text over that. You could be speaking over it, and really feeling into also what content you like to experience, right? What would feel valuable to you, not just because you don't want to do it to, I got to put content out so that I can grow my platform. No. If that's the intention, then I'm not the teacher for you. The intention that we have in this space is I'm here to serve and I'm here to express from my heart. And if I get into my heart of my love, my why, my yes for what it is that I'm doing, and I feel into who's going to read this book and just think, oh my God, thank God this book was written. It's probably a younger version of you, or a version of, your peers. What's going to be nourishing for them to receive, right? Reflect on that. A few other things I would look at in the design. We would look at your profile numbers as well, right? Someone who has a 3-line, they're much more likely to share a kind of trial and error behind the scenes. That's more of the content of day 37 of trying to stay focused on, growing my audience and, writing my book and meeting the people who are going to read the book, that type of thing. If you're line 1, maybe it's more sharing research. If you're line 4, right, that's what I am. It's much more about the heart. It's much more about people feeling your heart and your love, right? That's why I share a lot of inspiration, a lot of encouragement, right? Like the root of encouragement is about the heart, getting into the heart, growing it. Line 6 would be more teaching, right? Sharing insights, sharing teachings. Line 2 would be a little bit more like that's a style where you would maybe set up the camera to film you writing, right? You're kind of giving people this window into your little world. Ross said about the line 2 that it's like the image is someone playing the violin facing a wall while people watch them. So how could you simulate that? How would that energy be expressed? So the point of all of this is, and I'm just kind of riffing here to give more of you than just this one person some ideas. The point is long form first, then we find a style of content that's easy to do, right? That feels in alignment with your energy and is kind of like it's almost like if you were done with your writing for the day, instead of texting your friend or calling your mentor to say, hey, this is how it went, how can you take that kind of summary processing energy and use that to create a really valuable piece of content, share it with people? The next thing that I would ask is you can always ask yourself, this would be possible if I stopped doing this and I started doing this, right? So how could I both have deep focused time to write my book and grow my audience of people who will be excited to read my book? Just ask yourself that question and you're going to get some information. You might be like, oh, actually, instead of everyday daily deep work, I'm going to take a 3-day weekend off of my phone every week and write during that time. And then the rest of the time, I'm creating short form content. That works for some people. I find that most people do better with a daily rhythm. But just ask yourself that question. How do I make this possible? And it's probably going to reveal like, oh, there's certain things in my life I have to stop doing, because if I were to stop doing that, even, helpful things, listening to a podcast about writing, watching this Instagram live, if you were to eliminate those things, you would have enough life force and energy and willpower to do the things that are really going to move the needle for you. I think there's one other thing that I wanted to share here. Okay. Yeah. So this kind of bridges us into ways to approach social media that I feel are really important if you want to have an intentional relationship with it. And by the way, a lot of people have been asking me about Revival. They've been asking, is it just about social media? No, it's about whatever is distracting you from your life. Might be some aspect of social media, might be a different form of digital distraction, might be something else entirely. Might be picking up the phone every time someone calls you to gossip or freak out, and you don't have time for yourself. So whatever that thing is, that's death by 1,000 cuts, draining your energy from focusing on your calling, whether your calling is to build a business or to watch the butterflies float on the flowers outside your house instead of whatever else you're watching right now. That's what we're focusing on. So it's not just about social media. Second question people keep asking me is, am I going to have to unplug for the whole 21 days? Like, what if I have to use my phone? What if I have to, someone just reached out yesterday who is a wonderful artist and creative person who just launched a new project. And she was like, I'm going to have to check in on my project. Could I still do it? The answer is yes. The point of this is that you're going to experiment with pulling the plug from everything that is not serving you so that you can be in right relationship with it. So that might look like not throwing your phone away for 21 days, but getting really clear on what is the minimum effective dose use of my devices that I actually need, and getting pretty, ruthless about that. Is it, okay, I actually only need 10 minutes a day to log on, post my piece of content, check a few comments, and leave, right? And that's going to be a huge shift from what you were doing before. That also brings in, talking about limitations. You might notice, I think I need to be on my device all the time because I have to be creating content in the app. But do I really? Could I create that content in a different way that would be a cooler style actually, and not have me hooked into this energy grid as much? This is the kind of stuff we're going to explore. And it's questioning, we're really going to question, do I have to listen to that thing? What's running in the background that actually could go away, and what would it be like to have more of that space for myself? So that's those two questions answered. Getting into ways to work with social media and the internet that allow you to be in alignment and not be unconsciously drained or contributing to the problem. The first thing that I want to say here is that you don't have to be on social media. There's no shoulds here. It's not that you should be off. It's not that you should be on. Y'all have seen me go away, come back, go away, come back. And that's all been divinely guided. So only you're going to know. What I will say is that when you have something to share, the question of where will people find me is an important one to engage with. Because sometimes our distaste for social media, which is warranted on multiple levels, the part of us that's like, I feel not good when I'm on here. I feel good right now, by the way, because I'm on purpose. I'm in a beautiful place in nature. The sun is shining. I'm talking about what I care about. And when this live is over, I'm going to post it, and then I'm going to delete Instagram off my phone and go about my life. So whatever resistance that you might have is warranted, and it can also braid itself with your subconscious fear of not being seen, of being seen, not being seen, your subconscious fear of visibility. So it's important to look at, is my warranted resistance to social media actually also connecting with my fear of visibility? And how do I get into right relationship with that? It requires us to take responsibility. It requires us to get really specific about what is it that's not working for me about social media. Can I hold enough space to be divinely guided to see how I'm meant to be transmitting my message? And we get very detailed into this within Revival of different ways to structure how you're putting yourself out there, because there's a million ways, right? You could just go fully long form podcast, have a team clips from that, put them up on social media. You never even see it, right? There's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's important to make sure that you're not basically waiting on the sidelines, not getting into the arena of your life and your purpose because of your warranted and legitimate concerns about social media. So, and especially when you've if you're online and you see stuff and you think, I could do better than that, or, I was going to say that, or, you find yourself, in touch with your own unrealized creative potential, rather than being like in a genuine winter phase where you're not inspired, you're in a lot of quiet time with God. It's not time for your kind of expansion bloom. Those seasons do happen. But if you feel that creative energy kind of kicked up in you, even as resentment, anxiety, like this energy that wants to move, you got to give it a way to move. So if you're not going to post on social media, which is fine, how are you going to share? Is it a podcast? Is it YouTube, which, is kind of social media, but it still has a long form component. It's a different energy. Are you going to create zines and drop them off at every local coffee shop in town and ship them across the country? Are you going to take out a billboard? Are you going to, if you're 4-line in human design, you can work your network, right? You can just have a web of people who know about what you're doing, but you got to let them know. And there's a lot of ways to work with it. But it's important to ask that question and really answer it, so that you are doing right by your purpose, your creativity, and giving it a proper channel to move through. So if you're just joining, we're talking about how to be in right relationship with social media. Do you need to be on it? You don't need to do anything. But is it right for you? And if some version of creating and sharing online is part of your path, what are some ways to best support yourself with that? And we're having this conversation in honor of my program Revival, which starts tomorrow. We're going to clear digital distraction, reclaim our energy, and get to creating, and also get to relaxing. It's the amount of peace that you feel when you clear out the static on the channel, even when you're working more. It's amazing. Okay, so next thing is that if you do feel called to be on social media is not where the party is for your offer, your nonprofit, your club of cool people, your writing, your artistry, your business. Social media is where people discover you and then they go with you to a party somewhere else. That party, if we're talking, technical, digital structures here, that party has a place within your email list, right? So there's something where this is not the primary way that people interact with your work. You are inviting them into an ecosystem that you are taking care of, that may include digital offers, that may include in-person events, that may include different ways to interact with your art. But this is not where the main event is happening. And if you are wanting to be in touch with people in an ongoing way, collecting people's email addresses when they opt in and say, yes, I'm interested in what you're talking about, I would like to stay tuned about what else you're going to talk about, right? There's really simple and clear ways that you can do that. And that's gonna save you a lot of headache, and it's gonna get the energetics right here, where this is where you connect with people, and then you're inviting them to go somewhere deeper, and not having social media be where you're monetizing your community, right? Some people do have subscriptions on here. They have their like private thing that Instagram does, or they have whatever other, YouTube membership, things like that. That's going to feel, if you're not someone, if you're having this conversation with me right now, if you're engaged with this, you're questioning this, you feel the instability and the kind of like the high-pitched energy behind this platform. This is not where you want to be having your deep conversations. This is not where you want people to be contemplating your art, right? So do the work to build the structures to invite them somewhere else. Next thing is what I said before, do social media last, right? Don't have this be the primary focus unless you have, until your long form work is solid, right? Until you feel like I have a verdant garden and I am creatively satisfied, a verdant garden, metaphorically, of whatever your creation is, and I am so creatively satisfied, like I'm doing what I want to do with my life, you may enter a season where God's like, now tell the people about it. We built this great thing, so, let's put more energy. Like, your creativity may go to social media first in your day, in a season, but until you feel creatively satisfied, until you feel like you've really got traction, like you've got your hands around your current project, this legacy creation that you're working on, give that energy first and then give social media energy. The next thing is that there are some people for whom social media, especially when you're breaking through the resistance to being seen and you're becoming the version of you who can be a leader, who can express, social media is a really great place to get in the reps of essentially exposure therapy on expressing yourself, right? So I would not say to someone, go live on Instagram for 30 days or put up 60 pieces of content in 30 days because that's going to grow your platform, whatever super revved up advice other people are giving. That's not the advice that I'm going to give. However, if you were overthinking what you were going to say, if you were like, what even is my message? Who even are my people? And there was a high level of perfectionism where everything has to be perfect, I would say get on Instagram Live, go on YouTube Live, record and barely edit videos, put up screenshots of your journal, like do something to clear the pipes for a period of time so that you can essentially get through that fear of being seen part sooner, right? And you're going to have to do subconscious work. You're going to have to do some tapping and hug your inner child and hydrate. Okay? You're going to have to work through it, but you're going to have to work through it one way or another, right? And if you're questioning, is that for me? Is it not? It might not be, but this is the message for the people who are like, damn it, I got to share my message. Which is how I felt. I was like, I had no interest in being, or at least, the version of me that was leading my personality back then was not interested in, being a public figure, but it was part of the calling. And actually it's very satisfying to my soul. So I had to do it. So using social media to work through fears of visibility, phenomenal. Yes, and this will be posted once it's done, so thank you for asking. You'll be able to watch the rest of it. So using social media to get over your fear of visibility and to experiment, right? As much as it could feel awkward to try out some new expression when you have like 3 followers and they're like your mom and your 2 old coworkers and that person from college or whatever, that's actually a very safe place to do it. And God's going to work it through with you until you're ready for more visibility as well. When I look back on how I've built my platform and also just gotten really clear on who my people are and what I want to be sharing and what's deepest on my heart to express, a lot of that came through the reps of showing up here. And having a daily routine for a period of time where I would wake up really early before anyone else was awake in New York City. I mean, some people are awake, it's New York, but like quieter, 5 a.m., meditate, pray, morning pages, and then from that energy, what's deepest on my heart, God, what would you have me say today? Say it. And I look back on those posts and some of them are, wow, let me take some notes from younger me, and some of them are not what I would do now, right? Or I'm like, oh, that's so sincere and sweet, and I would say it in a different way, or wow, my aesthetic sensibility and my capacity to translate visually has gotten a lot better, but shout out to younger me. I'm so glad this is resonating. And that's the beauty of sharing, right? this is about getting into right relationship with this technology, because on my gratitude list every couple of days, I do a daily gratitude list. On my gratitude list every couple of days is, I can't believe I get to share online. And then there are people all over the world who resonate, right? It allows us to connect with what they call in the Gene Keys the fractal line, right? Basically our soul family. So I'm deeply grateful. Okay. I have one or two more notes here, and then we're going to start to wrap it up. So if there's any questions coming through just about what I'm talking about or about revival, now is the moment. So experiment and know your why. Get really clear on your why, because if your why is shoulds, if your why is, and sometimes you have to reflect on this. You're like, oh, actually the intention is I want to go viral so that then I can make more money, or I want to, prove that it wasn't a mistake to leave my 9-to-5, or maybe the intention is I want to express, but I don't want to get in trouble, or I want to express, but I don't want this part of me to be seen, right? There can be a lot of other intentions, or you don't even realize it, but you're operating on some programming of, oh, the only people I've seen be successful the way that I want to be successful are doing it this way, so I have to do it this way. It's clearing all of that out so you can actually have a pure intention, so that you can show up and say, I'm only here to serve. I'm here to connect. And serve is a word that resonates with a lot of people, like contribute. For you, it may be more like express, like I'm just here to be me. Welcome to the This Is What's on My Heart show. You're welcome. Keep it moving. Right? But getting to that pure place of I'm here to be a conduit for whatever God would do through me, however life wants to express through me, that's that sweet spot where we're able to have a more positive experience, because there aren't other subtle intentions operating. What we also do in revival is deeper energetic processes, cord cutting, resetting your field related to your devices, so that you're also not secretly enmeshed with the intentions of this platform, which want something different than what you're here to do, right? It wants the overstimulation. It wants the can't put my phone down. It wants that hungry hippo, more, feed the feed. It's a lot easier to show up intentionally when you don't have an unconscious merge. And that merge happens for a lot of reasons, including pedestaling the platform, including basically making social media your God. Like, if people see me, then this. If I stay on the good side of the algorithm, then this. Like, all of that makes you the effect of the cause of social media, rather than the cause of what the heck is going on in your life, rather than the cause of contribution, service, creativity. So these are the deeper layers that we get into within revival. And if you're already aware of how to do certain, energetic management for yourself, do that, right? Use those tools on your devices so that your channel can be clear, and look at what do I think is going to give me something that I don't already have within myself. That's the real unlock. I'm just going to read this comment. This is so timely. I used to be a lot more visible and active, then I pulled way back, lost my why, recently feel plugged back in and feeling called to share from a pure space. Amazing. Congrats. These things go in cycles, right? You all have seen me. If you're new, welcome. But if you've been around for a while, you've seen me go through those cycles. And it is that devotion to the purity that, will have you delete Instagram off your phone for 10 months because you don't want to share just to share, right? You want to share when it feels in alignment. And that's an integrity, a purity of heart, a purity of energy that is very nourishing for you, very nourishing for other people. And it leads to more miraculous experiences than doing anything to get something, which it's part of the old paradigm that we're clearing out. Okay. I'm looking at my notes here to see if there's any other questions that came through that I want to answer. That's it, folks. I have my whole page of notes and we have covered it all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to read this comment. I love what you said about building a garden. I don't want the majority of my life and life force spent here. I want to use it and not be used by it. Amen. Exactly. Same. That's why I created Revival. That's the process that I've created to end up in that place. And it's totally possible. And it requires kind of questioning the subtle pull that these platforms and these devices have, which say, no, the device says, put me first. I give you everything that you want, right? It's like an insecure relationship. You have to keep checking in. Is everything okay, right? And it distracts you from everything else. But when you can get your roots deep enough, like there's a big tree, you can see it, big tree here. It's like when you get those roots deep enough and you get that life force strong enough and you're like, this is what I'm here for, not in like a fighting way, not, although some of y'all are warriors, right? But not in a, overly revved up way. You're just like, I'm going to write my freaking poems. I'm going to make my art. I'm going to watch that snail crawl on that leaf the whole time. I'm going to be here. Just before this live, Christina and I heard a crash in the house, and it's usually the cats doing something insane. But I went in to the bedroom and I saw that the cats were all basically asleep, but Be Here Now by Ram Dass had fallen, like crashed off of the shelf, knocked all these crystals down. And I was like, all right, Ram Dass, what you got for me today? And it just felt kind of like a sign, and it just felt like a reminder about that. The Be Here Now medicine, right? As much as we've heard it a million times, that's what makes life worth living, is the capacity to fully experience it now. And when you do that, when you call the bluff on the no, you have to not be here. You have to go out there and get it. You got to do something that feels misaligned for you. You get your power back. You become the cause of your life again, and then you get to operate on your own terms, and you get to have the and, not the or, right? You get to have a way of sharing your work with the world, connecting with amazing people, and you get to have a life that feels like yours, a life that feels nourishing, and a body of work that stands the test of time. Yeah, thank you for sharing this. I catch myself down rabbit holes of watching these videos of all the craziness happening in the world that has me spiraling, which actually isn't helpful. Yeah, that's huge. And I want to honor the vulnerability that it takes to say, like, yo, this is where I end up down my scroll hole. This is the thing that the algorithm can send me that will spin me out. And whatever the algorithm is sending you that's spinning you out, I talked about this in a previous live. I don't follow anyone on Instagram except for my beloved Christina, and she doesn't really post on social media these days, so there's no new content in my feed. So whenever I open Instagram, it hits me with whatever piece of content it thinks is going to be most likely to get me to stop and watch it, rather than just do my post and leave. And it's fascinating because it gets us with the stuff that we care. It's like a distortion of what we care about the most. Right? This person who's sharing about how it hooks you with whatever it is that you're, whatever's going on in the world. I'm sure that you're someone who really cares about people. Part of your mission is about serving the collective. Part of your mission is about feeling in your heart for the human family that you're a part of, right? That stuff really matters to you. So that's where it gets you. It's like, do you want to empathize with this other person that's suffering? And and I know you do. Do you want to empathize with, do you want to just check and see, another one of God's children who you feel like is your child and is also you is suffering? It's not that it's wrong to know that that's happening, but it is about the leadership initiation of, I'm plugged in enough that I've got my finger on the pulse of what's going on. I also trust that God's going to send me the right pieces of information to know what's going on. And in order to actually be of service, if I can track the trends of what's being shown to me, whatever issue, group of people, particular dynamic, if I can track those, what is my assignment? What is my assignment related to that? And how do I, rather than saying, oh, here's another child suffering in a way that I already know that they're suffering, I wake up, I know the suffering is happening, I've got my divine assignment, and I put my energy into that first. Right? So we're not re-traumatizing ourselves, we're actually becoming more effective. Because the app doesn't care about those people that it's showing you, right? It cares about you staying hooked. It cares about what's gonna essentially hijack your nervous system enough that you stay engaged. Yeah, what is my assignment? Beautiful question to take into meditation. We also have a meditation on that in Mission Space. We have a meditation called Playing My Part, where you tune in on a specific issue that's really affecting you, that is like bringing up a lot for you, and it guides you into, okay, what is really my role to play? We also have a Finding Center meditation, which is about when it feels like there's so much kicked up collectively, how do I come back to that center and again know what is mine to do? So those resources exist, and also take it into your own meditation. Hold that question. Like, what is it that hooks me from the screen here? And how do I just basically settle the question for myself? So for this person, right, I'm so glad this is resonating. This is why I'm having this conversation, y'all, because it's important. It's important for those of us who it's important for, because it's this subtle thing that's affecting our capacity to really live lives that we want to live and to have the impact that we're here to have. And it's nuanced. So, right, for this beautiful soul, it's what's going on in the world. It's, oh my God, this other thing. Oh my God, like, the latest update in this situation. For other people, it's the latest biohacking thing. It's like maybe you're on a chronic health healing journey, and every time you open the app, it's like, what, have you tried this supplement? What about this? Oh, here's a perfect person who's saying, I'm having the exact experience that you're having, and I tried all these other things that you tried, but this is the one thing that I hadn't tried yet, and I tried it. You should try it. That's cool like once, but when that happens 14 times in a week, right? That's going to have an effect on you. So maybe the system is hooking you through that because you really care about your health and you're genuinely researching, you're curious, you're willing to try new things. Shout out to all my Sagittarius risings who've had Uranus and Taurus in your 6th house for years. That's like a biohacking rabbit hole placement. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's, travel. You're like, the algorithm knows, like, this person's going to Greece. They really want to go to Greece. So let me hit them with one more piece of content about Greece. Maybe it's parenting, right? Maybe it's relationships. Maybe you're like trying to work stuff out in your relationship dynamic, or you're working stuff out related to your masculinity, your femininity, your whatever it is. And the algorithm's like, are you a little insecure about this? You're trying to figure this out? Here you go, right? And again, it's not wrong to be engaging with that information. You are open to new information, but see how it's kind of capturing your attention, and you can come into more right relationship with that by saying, okay, I'm working on healing this thing. What do I already know that I'm doing that I trust is enough? How are other ways that God can send me information besides through the algorithm? Right? If you're working on healing something in your relationship dynamic, get that book, get clear. This is what I'm actually already working on, and I'm going to see it through in this way. So when I see some other little thing, hey, did you forget to think about this? I'm going to let it go. Or even, you see some art that's cool, and you want to see, there's just something that catches your eye. What is your relationship with that? Have I seen enough art this week? If I want to see art, I'm going to go to the art museum. If I want to see art, I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes and I'm going to go on Pinterest, or I'm going to go, it's bringing back that sovereignty. So again, you're the cause. You say, this was what matters to me, so this is how I'm going to engage with it. Not, I'm at the mercy of the thing that I care about the most getting hijacked or hijacking me through how this app is communicating it to me. Yeah, so helpful to reorient to right relationship with the thing. Trust is enough. 100%. So really powerful conversation today, y'all. Thank you for those of you who are engaging live and showing up for this conversation. We're going to close this out for now. If you want to continue this conversation, join me for a revival. We're going to be live tomorrow for our opening call, and we're going to be diving deeper into all of this. And then the 21-day journey starts on Monday, September 1st. It's bite-sized, 30 minutes a day to change your relationship with these devices, with your screens, and to get a chance at having a new experience, right? A new experience of being more sovereign, a new experience of being more in charge of your own energy, feeling your creativity in a new way. If you have any questions about the specifics of revival, about whether it's right for you, you can just reach out, send a DM or email support@aaronxrose.com. And if you want to join, if you are feeling that yes of this is something that I want to do, then you can go to the link in my bio. You can also just comment Revive, REVIVE, on this live or in the comments, and my little internet elves will send you the link directly. All right, I'm just going to close with a breath here. You're all so welcome. I'm just going to close with a breath, just giving thanks for all that was transmitted today. Just giving thanks for easeful integration, that if you tuned in, that you received this whole transmission, that it was not in vain, that you're able to remember and then act upon whatever it is that you received. So that's the invitation right now. What was your biggest insight? What was the aha, wow, I needed to hear that? And then what is one thing that you can do differently right now, today, to act on it? Because that's how we make it real. All right, that's your homework. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Take care.